dynasty is falling. Everything is over. The world is ending. The Warriors are finished. Welcome to Not the Experts. I'm Titus, your host. As you know, Game 1 of the finals was last night, and everything is over for Golden State because that's how basketball works. When you lose Game 1, you lose the series. That's how this goes, right? I know. Overreaction season in the NBA is one of my favorite things, and it's one of my favorite things about the playoffs. It's like sometimes we all forget these are 7-game series, and it's a long journey to the finals, right? It's a long journey to the championship. Every series is its own journey, and there's a lot that goes into it. But if you lose one game, all of a sudden you're done. Especially Game 1. You lose Game 1, everyone's worried about you. Everyone thinks everything is over, and you're never going to recover. It's the most confusing thing and ridiculous thing. So, Golden State and Toronto played Game 1 of the NBA Finals last night. Toronto won. So I think a few things go into this overreaction that's been taking place, right? I think part of it is this is a fresh matchup. You know, every time the Warriors have been in the finals, literally every single time the Warriors have been in the finals since this run started, they've been against LeBron. All of them. And this is the first time we're seeing them go against not LeBron. You know, this is the first time we're seeing them against a completely different team, fresh coach, fresh faces. It's a lot of new stuff for them to deal with in the series. So a lot of this is leading to people saying that, oh, how are they going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And on top of the fact, Kevin Durant's out. But one thing that people tend to forget, right? When people pick series, I think I've seen most people have had the Warriors winning in 6 games, right? In order for the Warriors to win in 6 games, they would have to lose 2 games. That's how this works. That's how it goes. And once a team actually loses a game, people forget the fact that in order to win a series, unless you have them winning in a sweep, in order for them to actually win the series, they had to lose at some point, right? Alright then. So, but you know, overreaction makes for good TV and makes for compelling radio, and people can think, oh yeah, see, now they have a shot. No, that's not how this works at all. Now, I'm not saying any of this to say Toronto doesn't have a chance to win this series. Of course they do. Toronto is a very, very good team. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They have Kawhi Leonard, he's been just ridiculous these playoffs. Shouts to Doc Rivers and that $50,000 fine he got. Might be worth it, though. As Zach Harper tweeted, you can't spell tampering without rings. So, do what you got to do. But yeah, so the Raptors are a very, very good team, and of course they have a chance to win the series. Of course they do. But it was also Game 1 yesterday. Not Game 5, not Game 4. It was Game 1 in a city and legitimately a country that had never had an NBA Finals game in their entire history. So, yeah, of course, they had a lot of advantages last night. One of the advantages to me, I think, like I said, having home court and having your first finals game like that, it's a lot like when, it reminds me of when Miami played Oklahoma City in the finals years ago. And it was Oklahoma City's first game in the finals at home. Like, you weren't winning that game. No one was winning that. No one was going to come in and beat them in that game, period. Toronto wasn't losing that game at home last night. Not that game. Not Game 1. Not in their building, and not with that much hype and fan support. And you can add that to the fact that the Warriors had been off for 9 days. Rust sets in at some point. It just does. It's just a natural thing. The Raptors had played more recently, and they had played a longer series. They had to really fight in their last series, whereas Golden State fought for a few halves, but overall, they dominated Portland, and they swept that series, so they were off for a while, which was good for them because they need to get rest. They need to give Kevin Durant some more time off. So they need to give Iguodala some more time off. They just need to sit down. Last night, Toronto got 32 from Pascal. At the same time, that does have its pros and cons. The con is you come out and play like you did last night.
Those are the top 3 scores.
realistically, outside of Kawhi, do you see Siakam getting? Do you see any of the other guys getting those totals again? Like, do you see another 32 coming from Siakam? Do you see another 20 coming from Gasol? Because I'm not sure about that. I'm not sold on both those guys playing that well for the foreseeable future of this series. I don't see that coming. And I think that's one thing that people are kind of overestimating is the play of these guys. Like, yeah, they're gonna have flashes. They're gonna have good games. Players typically that happens a lot. Guys step up and guys get those totals. But that's not something you can really expect them to do consistently going forward when they're not the main guys. Like, I'm sure Kawhi's gonna get 20 every single game. I don't doubt that at all. I'm not sold that Siakam's gonna go from his 19 a game in the playoffs to 32 for the rest of the series. I'm not sold on that. And I think there are things. And the Warriors know what they need to do. The Warriors know that they did some things very, very poorly last night. One thing they did poorly was their transition defense. They gave 24 fast break points. Steve Kerr was livid about it. He mentioned it a few times. They mentioned it during the broadcast and then after the game. Another thing they did terribly, which is one of their staples, is they had 17 turnovers. And you're not going to get away with that against a team of Toronto's caliber. Like, you're not going to be able to turn the ball over that many times and then think you're going to come away with a win. Not against this team. No, it's not going to happen. And they know that. And everything that went wrong for Golden State is something they can really fix. Like, they can limit the turnovers to less than 17. Good Lord, that's a lot. Like, I'm not saying they're going to be turnover free, but good God, 17 turnovers is a lot. And I don't see them doing that again. Things went really right for Toronto last night. And this is not me knocking Toronto. I think Toronto is a very good team. I think Toronto could possibly very much so. Well, not possibly. Toronto can very much so compete in this series. It's not gonna be they're not gonna be a pushover, especially with Kevin Durant being out and limited. If he does indeed come back, which there are reports that he might be back by game 3 or 4 in this series. We'll see what happens with that. But especially if that's the case, there's a legitimate chance for Toronto to maybe win the series. But I don't think last night, the way the game went last night, is really indicative of that. I think last night is one of those outlier games where things went right. And they took advantage of it the way as they should have. In a series of 7 games, you just got to give yourself one shot. And they did a good job giving themselves a shot last night with their performance. So I think that Golden State is going to come into game 2. They talked about it. Looney said, we executed the game mostly besides transition. We gave them way too many transition layups. And once them guys got transition layups, I think everybody got confident and started making shots. If we limit Siakam with his transition shots and his force, we'll be alright. And I don't think he's necessarily wrong in that. Siakam killed them. I mean, he was the leading scorer last night. He went 14 for 17, man. That's 2K numbers. 14 for 17, 32 points. I do that on 2K all the time. It's just how you do it. But that's not something you can realistically expect him to do consistently over 7 games. Because the team is going to adjust. They're going to defend better going forward. And then we'll see what's up with the series. That's when we'll really find out what happens. Game 1 was a good win for Toronto. Every win in the finals is a good win. If you get a win, it's important. You just need to put yourself in position to be in the series, like I said. And they did that last night with that win. But if I'm someone who thinks the Warriors are going to win the series, I'm not worried about what happened last night. I'm not overreacting to it. Now, if it happens again in game 2, we can talk about it. But I'm not overreacting to one game in the finals that goes this way. I'm just not going to lose my mind or start thinking, oh, the Warriors are in trouble and the dynasty is dead. No, that's not what we need to do. Like I said, if you think the Warriors are going to win this series in more than 4 games, they had to lose a game or two. They had to lose a game. That's how it goes. Period. That's the way a series works. You got to lose at some point if you don't win in 4. There's no need to panic. No need to lose your mind. Stay calm. We'll see what happens in the future. Alright, game 2 is on Sunday. I expect the Warriors to cut their turnovers down going forward. I expect them to I expect them to be better defensively on Siakam. They did a pretty good job on Kawhi, and part of their game plan was they kind of wanted to get the ball out of Kawhi's hand. But Kawhi, great players are going to get their points. So Kawhi did get 23, but it wasn't the dominant 23 like in the Buck series when he was destroying them. It wasn't that kind. They kind of held him at bay a little bit and kind of made him defer, which is good, and which is why they weren't panicking about the performance overall. Is why Looney said what he said. Like, they did a good job executing the game plan because the game was to stop Kawhi, but the other part of the game plan was to also limit transition, which they did a terrible job at. And they see that, they know what they got to do. One thing we can't underestimate about a champion is their experience. Yes, the Warriors are injured right now. Like I said, Durant's out. Iguodala's a little hobbled. But one thing they got in this series is experience. They've been here before. They've been down in series before. Let's not forget the year that they won, that they collapsed in the finals and blew that 3-1 lead. They came back from being down 3-1 in a playoff series. Like, they've been down in series before, and they come out on top every time. So they know what they're doing here. They know what they have to do going forward, and I think they're gonna do that. Curry was great last night. He had 32. Curry had 34. Excuse me, 34 points last night. I mean, he did his thing. Clay was decent, but I think Clay can play better than that. One thing they're gonna need going forward, I think they're gonna need a lot from Looney. If Cousins can come back and be effective in the few minutes they give him, that'll help out a lot. And if they get Kevin Durant back and Kevin Durant's even 75%, that's huge for them. It's huge for them. One thing I am glad about last night is that they lost. So this whole they don't need Kevin Durant thing can slowly further die because it's a ridiculous point. It makes zero sense, and it gives me a headache. So I am glad they pulled that. And I am glad they lost for that reason because, I mean, could have used the Durant last night. One thing Durant gives them that people forget about is he gives them another shot creator, somebody else that can go get a basket whenever they feel like going to get a basket. And people underestimate that as something that a team needs somehow, and I don't understand it because the ability to go get your shot is extremely valuable in the playoffs. Ball movement is cool. You know what's better? Getting a shot. Just go get a bucket. Let's not make 75 passes. You go down the court, get a bucket for us. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's much better than all this ball movement that people love so much. Like, I understand it looks fun whipping the ball around the perimeter. Woo, everybody touches it. Woohoo. Reminds you of your elementary days when they wouldn't let you shoot until everybody touched the ball. I know y'all remember those days. The rec ball days. Everybody has touched the ball. Nobody take a shot till everybody touches the ball. I know it reminds you of those good old days. But somebody needs to go get a bucket. It's the NBA. And that's what the element that Kevin Durant gives them that people seem to forget about. So anyway, like I said, Game 2 is on Sunday. Don't overreact. I don't know if you noticed this, but I really haven't made a pick yet. And I did tweet last night that I was leaning towards the Raptors. I'm really not. It's just I could see them winning, but I'm not gonna pick them to win. One, because I really want to see a three-peat. I want to see a three-peat that I remember seeing. Better yet, because I don't really remember the last three-peat in the NBA. I was younger back then. I don't really recall. I don't have the full spectrum of that joy in my life, so I don't really remember the historical impact of it. But I really want to see a three-peat, and if the Warriors win, I'll have seen one, and I'll be very happy with that. But I also recognize that three-peats are rare because three-peats are very, very hard. And Toronto is, like I said, they're a good team. They have a chance to win this series. And eventually I'll make a pick. You know what? I'm going to make a pick. I got the Warriors. I got the Warriors winning this series. And yeah, pretty much that's it. I got the Warriors winning the series. I have much else to say. Everything else is in this podcast pretty much. I think their experience is going to take over at some point. I think they're going to limit Siakam's impact. And if they can play defense on Kawhi as well as they did and limit Siakam, especially in transition, what's the Raptors' next move? That's the real question here going forward. Like, what do the Raptors do if Siakam gets limited, if they can defend Kawhi this well? What's your next step? because I don't think they have one. I really don't. I don't think they have another consistent offensive step or threat on their team. So going forward, man, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a fun series. I'm cheering for a lot of fun. I enjoy. I like watching both of these teams play. I even enjoy the antics of Drake. It's pretty hilarious. So I'm looking forward to this series. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. Yeah. Wrap it. Before we wrap it up, I got a little bit of housekeeping. As you heard in the last podcast, because I know you all listen to it, because you love me and you listen to everything I do, or you play it on silent because you want to give me the play and keep my stats up. You did one of the two. Anyway, as you know, we are, like I told you, Not the Experts is doing a lot of different things. We got a lot of stuff coming out. Well, I would like to announce we do have our very first interview coming very, very soon. I will give you more details when it's about to drop. I'm very excited for that. I want to do a lot more of that, and we're going to do a lot more of that going forward. It's going to be mostly people that I interact with, but eventually, maybe I'll get somebody I don't know, or I just barely interact with, to come do an interview when they see how good my interviews are. But yeah, it's going to be an interview conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for Bar for Bar coming out next week. We'll be talking some hip hop, some battle rap, all that good stuff. And one last thing, I do have one more thing that I want to shout out. Do you like music? You like poetry, hip hop, singing? You like seeing artists do art? You like painting, dancing, all that good stuff? You like conversations? You like relaxed environments, a real chill space with a bunch of people being themselves and no one's, trying to front for anybody. Everybody's just trying to chill and relax and get to know each other and be cool? Well, I got something for you. June 21st at 8:30 p.m. An evening of poetry and conversation with my man Versatile Thompson. It's gonna be a really fun night, man. It's gonna be, kind of an open mic kind of setup, a lot of poetry, like I said, music, just a real chill spot. I'm gonna be in there. Hopefully it's gonna be a really chill environment. Told him I'd shout it out, represent it for a little bit on the show, give it a shout out on the show. It's gonna be a really chill environment. You can get more information from him on Instagram. Follow him on Instagram at VERSATYLE_. You'll find him there. You can get more information on the show. Like I said, it's going to be the 21st of June at 8:30 p.m. 2195 DeFore Hills Road, Atlanta, Georgia, Suite C. It's going to be a $20 admission at the door. But, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, it's going to have it's a really chill spot. It's going to be a lot. I know some people that are going to be there. They're all super dope people. Come through. Hang out. Get to know some folks. Get to know me, talk to me and everything. It'll be a lot of fun. If you're in the Georgia area, definitely hit that up. I'll be promoting that even more going forward. I'm going to promote that in every show, just so you know. Verse will be on the show, talk about it as well at some point. So just be on the lookout for that. If you want to come through, like I said, follow him on Instagram at versatile__. VERSATYLE__. Check it out. Appreciate you for listening. Talk to you very, very soon. Enjoy the playoffs.